恭敬大。Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchedoye ulahudi samyao samputoshe. Namo sadanto suchedoye ulahudi samyao samputoshe. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. I hope you're all well. It is Saturday, June 14th. We're halfway through June already. Here in Berkeley, California. Glad that you're with us. It is the 15th of June in Australia, where kind-hearted volunteers are translating my English words into Mandarin. And we also have a Vietnamese translation happening. So I want to express my gratitude to all those friends who are helping these words go out around the world in other languages that folks can dial into. We are, do you know what we're doing here tonight? Do you know what we're about? We're looking at a chapter of the Flower Garland Sutra. It's called the Avatamsaka Sutra, and the chapter is chapter 39. It's the last chapter, and it's an epic tale. Epic, not only meaning epic, kind of big, but it also means it's an epic literature, as in the genre of literature where there's a hero who goes out on a quest and gets himself in trouble and gets scared and risks everything, and gets wounded and comes back successful. That's what an epic, that's the template for an epic story. If you think of the Odyssey, and Gilgamesh is one of the earliest Persian epics. Xiaoji, anybody knows if you've seen Journey to the West or read it. That's an epic story. So this is one of them. And our hero is named Sudana, Shangsai Tongzi. And he is traveling to Buddhahood. It's a long journey physically. Between the last teacher and this teacher he's talking to now, he went 12 years between teachers. But he has found someone whose name is Liberation, Jietuo Zhangzhi. And this individual is, he hasn't said a word yet, but his presence is inspiring our hero to our Sudana is overflowing with his excitement at seeing his teacher, because he's been holding these questions in his mind for 12 years. Can you imagine? Walking. And now he's ready. And it's just this overflowing spring of excitement and energy, all about the bodhisattva path. That's what it's about. So let's get going. We are in the process of the protocols that we go through before we begin. So we'll next invoke spiritual presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly, and also the gods and the dragons and the Eightfold Pantheon of spiritual Dharma protectors. And we do it with a melody. You're welcome to join. I hope you will. We'll do it 7 times. Nice deep note. We would like to respectfully acknowledge the Chochechno Ohlone people who practice their spiritual connections to the earth and to all creation here in what we call the Bay Area for tens of thousands of years. There we go. Get you closer. Today we acknowledge them as traditional custodians and original storytellers of these lands, and we offer our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded. 这是我们恭敬的承认Chochechno Ohlone的人，是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Bells sound wide, resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000劫内，佛法扬万亿国中， 共训其法界和平，利益报他诺后的。That's how it goes. Okay, and I'll be able to sing that one of these days. That's a promise I have not kept. I'm not sure you want to hear me sing the Chinese version, but be sincere. All right, I wanted to say at the start, and I have to say it again at the end, that for weeks now, we've been saying anybody who wants to go to Buddha Root Farm should register and do it quick because it's going to fill up. Well, it filled up and it's next week. I won't be here. So wanted to let folks know. And there will be some people who don't get the message and who drive all the way up from San Jose or from Marin County and get here and find a notice on the door saying, see you in 2 weeks. But you can definitely log in online. The Dharma wheel will continue to turn. We haven't confirmed who will be lecturing, but it'll be a wonderful chance to hear a different voice than my own speaking Dharma. So next week, I won't be here in Berkeley to lecture. Same is true for the Sunday night CTTB 10 Transferences lecture. We'll be away. Same is true for our picture biography of Master Empty Cloud. That one we're going to cancel for a few months because of travel, because of summer break. And I will be going to, between now and August, when we'll be back on regular schedule, I'll be in Oregon, Michigan, Ohio, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. So lots of moving around. And so just the thing to remember is next week and the following week, there won't be a lecture here on Saturday night. So tune in on Zoom or join us at Buddha Root Farm. Okay, what's on the program tonight? Oh my goodness. Heng Chao, Marty Verhoeven, and I have been putting together our last volume of our bowing pilgrimage that we wrote together from the highway back in 1979. Oh my goodness. Been a long time since since we put pen to paper. And that last volume from just south of the Golden Gate Bridge to Ukiah hasn't been published yet. It's still in manuscript form. It's still in the handwriting. So Marty and I are busily putting those stories down and going to get it out. It's for people who like road stories. It's a good read. There's two different realities going on. I was silent during that time, so right at this point, from pretty much Pescadero, people know Highway 1 there, the Cabrillo Highway, also known as the PCP, PCH, sorry, it's the PCH. PCP is that's a drug, no, PCH. So from Pescadero, which is just north of Santa Cruz and south of San Francisco, it was Christmas in 1979, and Christmas in 1978, crossing 1979. And from that point on, I was experiencing having been silent at that point for 1.5 years already. I was moving inside pretty steadily. It took me a long time to really be quiet, inside and outside both. So the Heng Chao, Marty, he was being his inimitable Dharma protector self consistently. So he's writing a lot about what's happening outside, who's coming by, who said what's happening in the landscape with the offerings, etc. I'm watching my mind. So there's two very different streams of writing, but we co-author this. And I've got some incredible stories tonight to share with everybody from Marty's side of the experience. So that's coming up. Then, furthermore, folks who would like to ask a question or two, who've got something important about cultivation or about Buddhism or about the Avatamsaka that they would like to ask, please type it into the chat box. Our faithful, hardworking translators are at the other end of that chat box, happy to record your question, and then I'll set some time aside at the end, go into Google Docs and pick out the questions. In Alameda, in Heilongjiang, in Montreal, in Alameda, Fremont, in Vietnam, Gold Coast, Terry's here, Oklahoma, a lot of friends from Alameda, that's great, glad you're here, Virginia, Beijing, Inner Mongolia, Baotou, Beijing, Harbin, Guangzhou, Jilin, Sichuan, Shenzhen, Liaoning, Xini, 那不是中国。Let's see, where else here? Beijing, Tianjin, Xi'an, Shandong. Okay, you get the idea. Lots of friends here. More than half are listening in from China, which is terrific. Okay, here's our hero. Here he is. And if you recall, when I said he is just spouting like a fountain, all of the things he's wanted to say for 12 years, finally he gets a chance. He's in front of his new teacher, and he's just overflowing with the things he needs to know, the things he wants to communicate. His teacher hasn't said a word yet. He's kind of, this young guy's got a lot to say. So here he is. He said why he made the Bodhi resolve, why he decided to become a Buddha, set everything else aside. He said, I have made the Bodhi resolve in order to. We get 31 reasons. In order to. 为欲什么什么故, 为欲什么什么故. Because. And we discovered that those 31 divide into Buddhas, Dharma, and now Sangha. That's how he's put it together in his mind. So what we're seeing, here's where we start today. What we're seeing is a young man who has realized that if he cultivates sincerely, he can leave birth and death. He can get out of mortality. He can stop dying, essentially, which is kind of the secret that probably everybody in the world has thought about at one time or another, especially just before we go. And he's got a shot at it now. He's got good teachers, and he's young, and he's strong and clever. And furthermore, he's discovering that that's not enough. The bodhisattva impulse is moving in him. And why point that out? It's because I've been around the Buddhist world a couple times now, east to west, and the rarest thing of all is the bodhisattva impulse. This thought that I could leave suffering entirely and say goodbye, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until other people wake up, and that's what I'm going to do. That's my motive now, is to help others awake. That's rare. That's really special. And this book, this Avatamsaka Sutra, here's another translation of it. 1/3, there's 3 volumes that thick. Right? This book talks about how to do that, how a bodhisattva would go about accomplishing that goal, to wake others up. So it's kind of like, you could say it's the, you really know the word altruism, true goodness. This is probably the goodest thing that a person could do with their life, is to live unselfishly for others. And this teaches us how to do it. That's what he wants to know, and we get to watch him. We get to look into his mind and figure out what he's thinking. So that's it. We'll read down to, we'll go to the bottom of the page, then we have a few more, all the way down to there. Okay, we'll break this in half. Okay, we'll just go down to the bottom of the page. Are we ready? Can you also, is that big enough? Can you read it? Go, Dharma. Okay, here we go. I'll give you a line. 谓欲于一切诸菩萨，菩萨众，同一体故。These are long. We'll break it there. 谓于一切菩萨，善根等无异故。Sounds good. 谓于圆满一切菩萨，波罗蜜故。谓于成就一切菩萨，所修行故。谓于出生一切菩萨，清净愿故。谓于得一切菩萨 I'm sorry 谓于得一切诸菩萨 wrong again 再来谓于得一切诸佛菩萨为神藏故 Got it. All right. Here we go. So we did notice this first bunch was because things to do with Buddhas. Then it shifted to because I'm thinking about the Dharma as well. He's full of chi. Now he wants to connect with bodhisattvas. So our first one, right here, and we can read it together. Watch the punctuation. Watch the white space. Here we go. Ready? For the sake of sharing a physical identity with the multitudes of bodhisattvas. Good. For the sake of good roots which are not different from those of bodhisattvas. For the sake of mastering the paramitas of bodhisattvas. For the sake of mastering the practices which bodhisattvas cultivate. For the sake of making the pure vows of bodhisattvas, for the sake of attaining the awesome spirituality of Buddhas and bodhisattvas. Okay, if this were baseball, you'd say he's swinging for the fences. He's going for the gold. He doesn't want anything less than the highest goodness. He wants to be like a bodhisattva. And I want to say, for him, this is a new idea. This is a young man. He's new at this. He's just been out before the 12-year break between teacher 5 and teacher 6. He was out for a couple months. And as he met these teachers, and they shared with him the method that they used to wake up, his mind is just reacting fresh. Later on, he goes to 53 teachers. So later on, he's used to it, and his ideas get much more sophisticated and subtle. Now it's raw. This is raw stuff. He's like, wow, I wanna see Buddhas. I wanna understand the Dharma. I wanna be like a bodhisattva. That's what he wants. So what does he say? He says, sharing a physical identity with the multitudes of bodhisattvas. Another way of saying that is, I wish to become of the same substance as the community of all bodhisattvas. So he wants to qualify as a real bodhisattva. 2, I want good roots that are not different from those of bodhisattvas. So the good things that bodhisattvas do, I want to do them. Next, paramitas. This is a key, super important technical term. So what's a paramita? Paramita is what bodhisattvas use to take other beings out of suffering while staying where they are. These are power tools. Okay, next, the practices that bodhisattvas cultivate. That's what he wants. So bodhisattvas practices followed by vows. These keywords, practices and vows. This is what makes bodhisattvas different from arhats, different from Buddhas. Next, awesome spirituality. In Chinese, that was, and this is different because this is bodhisattvas, this is Buddhas and bodhisattvas, Wei Shen Zhang. Translated as awesome spirituality, awesome spiritual qualities of all Buddhas and bodhisattvas. Okay, so take a look here. Because, want, get, all, Buddhas, bodhisattvas, this word, we have the word wei for monks and nuns, how you behave, how you look, how you walk, how you pick up your chopsticks, your spoon and fork. It's external deportment. Shen is word for gods, also the word for spirits, that is to say, energy that's out of a body, not a ghost, but a spirit. Shen is the invisible part. Christianity talks about a soul, and that's a hard one to translate into Chinese. There's no word in Chinese that corresponds to what Christianity means when it says soul. We talk about hun and po in Chinese. That's close too, but what is the shen? It's definitely invisible, but he wants the awesome appearing spiritual zhang. What is zhang? Zhang is like a cupboard. It's like a storehouse. It's like a chest of drawers, a closet, call it a treasury. It's your safe. It's where you stash your goods, things you don't want to lose. You put those in the zhang. Sometimes translated as matrix, if you think of Keanu Reeves, and matrix being like where all things connect, like a switchboard, that's a zhang. So zhangs contain things, you put stuff in the closet, but it's also a connection place. So, awesome spirit or spiritual connection place, storehouse of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. That's what he wants. Does that connect to anybody? Is that like, yeah, I want to be as awesome as Bodhisattvas are. Translated here as awesome spirituality. Sorta, awesome spirituality. What's it like? In the world, we have the word charisma. Has anybody ever stood next to a real movie star? Somebody who's an actor, male or female, who not only is like popular, but is also a good actor. Someone who's the reason why they become famous actors is when the camera's on them, they light up. Have you anybody like that? For me, I was 10 years old, and I was a baseball nut, and I grew up in Toledo, and our closest team were the Detroit Tigers. Cleveland Indians were a few hundred miles away. So the Detroit Tigers, my absolute number one favorite player was a guy named Harvey Keene. Harvey Keene played right field. And for a few years, the Tigers acquired a center fielder named Rocky Colavito. Anybody know Rocky? Anybody old enough? Yeah, there you go. All right. Rocky Colavito, you had to be a kind of Midwesterner to pick up on it. So Rocky Colavito is famous for hitting 4 home runs in one game. So I really liked these two guys. And there was another right fielder later named Al Kaline, who was Detroit Tigers' biggest star. They came down to Toledo for for signing autographs and showing up for their fans. And you know where they came? They came to a grocery store. And it was well known that they were going to show up at Kroger's grocery store at 3 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. And I was there, and I got to see them. And I got them to sign my Harvey Keene and Rocky Colavito baseball cards. Oh, man. If they weren't glowing, I was glowing. You know, it's like seeing these guys, 10 years old. These are big, you know, Harvey Keene chewed tobacco, you know, like that. He was an amazing guy. He came from Paw Paw, Michigan. I kid you not. Paw Paw. His name was, so anyway, West Allis. No, I take it back. He came from West Allis, Wisconsin. It was Charlie Maxwell who came from Paw Paw, Michigan. Anyway, so when you see someone who, the thing about these two professional baseball players who were there together, my two favorites were right there together, was, first of all, their size. These are professional athletes. These were big men who used their bodies every day to be good at their craft. And, you know, as a 10-year-old, I was absolutely a hero worshiper. It was complete hero worship on my part. And so it was not only their physical size, but also the fact that these are men who I watched on television, on Channel 7, when the Tigers games were on. And so it was a combination of seeing, you know, that the reality of television celebrities suddenly in the flesh, there was that, but that these were sports heroes, and I admired them tremendously. So this is the kind of, it had nothing to do with spirituality. I want to make that clear. These were professional athletes, and they were really good at what they did. But that's a very mundane experience that I had because of what I brought to it. You know, the one perceiving them. They were larger than life, and I was starstruck seeing my favorite baseball players. Bodhisattvas have that same, receive that same adoration from people, but in this case, when you see them, it's almost like this, because what is missing between an ordinary person and a bodhisattva, what's different is the presence or absence of self and self-awareness. When you see a real bodhisattva in the flesh, I'm not going to suggest that I have, but I've seen men and some women who, as you look at them, it's almost as if they're not there. That sounds funny to say, but they have cultivated away the things that make them separate and different and distinct, and they look like everybody. They look like they're worn through, not burned out, but burned through, like the ashes are cold. And yet there's this incredible humanity at the same time. This sounds like a 自相矛盾. I switched vocabularies. So it sounds like a contradiction, that somebody could be, you know, burned out in that desire. When desire is gone from somebody, their six senses track differently. But it's not cold and dead. It's not disinterested in the least. On the contrary, there's a transparency and an openness. You can see right through to the heart of someone like that. It's astonishing how. So so how do you get to Wei Shen Sang? How do you get awesome spirituality? It's two things at once. It's both wisdom and compassion. So how do those two balance? The wisdom comes first, and the wisdom sees through the surface of things. States, emotions, crises, trouble, sees through and isn't moved by those things. And wisdom is you connect the branch tip and the root. So you see something going on, you go, oh, that's a case of, I know where that goes. I've been there, I've done that. And I recognize it, I understand what's going on. That's wisdom that sees through the surface to the heart of things and isn't moved by them. But then the compassion kicks in once the self no longer reacts out of love or aversion. I want it to be this way, and if it's not, I'm really unhappy. Oh no, it can't be that way, I hate that, that's awful. Those two reactions are gone now from the heart of this individual because he or she has been working right there, not giving in to the selfish desire to get a little bit a better deal or to run away from this problem. That's long gone. When the self is gone, it's not that there's nothing there. What's there is everything. That's compassion. Because the self is no longer in the center, determining every move, calculating for you, as a result, no matter what happens, it connects. And so the bodhisattva, without effort, can understand where people are coming from exactly, because why? You share a physical identity with all of them and all living beings. The physical identity of a bodhisattva is everybody. So that's important to say it that way. Why? Some people think, they hear, oh my goodness, 我空法空. You've emptied out the self and you've emptied out dharmas. And that must be awful because there's nothing left, just like that. Isn't that scary? The answer is, only when it's completely empty does great compassion connect. If they're still hanging on to a little bit of me and mine, it's not empty. Once you really let that go, if you're doing it in the Buddhist context, everybody is there. You are transparent. You're still working like crazy, but there's more of you than before. So that brings me back to the first thing I said, which is when you see somebody who really has this awesome spirituality, it's very funny. It's like they're very plain vanilla. They're very ordinary, and yet in that ordinariness is everything, is everyone. 常独行，常独步，大智同有涅槃路，调故身轻，风自高，毛脆孤岗人不顾. Right? Let's see if I want to do this to make sure I get the English right. See if I can. Here we go. Yeah. Let's see here. 常独行，常独步，大智同有. I want to do a good English here. Let's see here. 常独行. Here we go. Ever solitary, they always walk alone, together with the ones who know to take nirvana's road. Their tune is old, their spirits bright, their style is dignified, their face is worn, their bones are steel. No one pays them any mind. That's Wei Shenzang, right? So, and actually the next one is good, it follows too. 穷狮子口称拼，世事生拼道不拼，拼在身长培律个，道自心藏无扎阵，无扎阵永无尽，力物应机众不临，三身四智体中原，八戒六通心地印. The children of the Buddha live in poverty, they say. Their style is very basic, but they're wealthy in the Tao. They wear the clothes that no one wants. There's nothing left to patch. but in their hearts a treasure no millionaire can match. This treasure beyond price works in ways you can't devise. It helps, it responds, never stingy, always kind. Bodies 3, wisdom's 4, inside is where they're found. Freedom's 8, power's 6, seal the Buddha's mind ground. So this is, our Buddha Root Farm is going to be working. I'm hearing feedback from this. It's just a little too hot. Is it possible? Is anybody on the board? Can we turn this one down? This is the XLR, just a tad. I'm hearing it bounce back here. Ever solitary, they always walk alone, together with the ones who know to take nirvana's road. Their tune is old, their spirit's bright, their style is dignified. Their faces worn, their bones are steel, no one pays them any mind. That should be good, Jason. Thank you. The children of the Buddha live in poverty, they say. Their style is very basic, but they're wealthy in the way. They wear the clothes that no one wants, there's nothing left to patch. In their hearts a treasure no millionaire can match. So this is to talk about, this is the Song of Enlightenment, Song of Awakening to the Way by Master Yongjia. So talking about awesome spirituality of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, it's not a movie star. Movie stars get there because of projecting their light out so that they catch your eye. That's the skill of a skillful actor. They said, who was it? John Gielgud? John Gielgud was one of the only actors who could hold your eye when his back was turned. You could turn his back and you'd still watch him. And he was the one, he said, I never ever share the stage with a dog or a baby. Because anytime on the stage there's a baby, the human eye goes directly to it. And you don't see anything else. And dog is the same. So that was one of his rules for John Gielgud, was never share the stage with a dog or a baby. But he himself, he was so charismatic in an actor's skill that even when he turned his back, you watched him. It's not that kind of awesome spirituality. Bodhisattvas don't shine. You don't notice them. No one pays them any mind as it goes, right? Okay, moving on here. We've got down to here more bodhisattva qualities that he wants. This is a handbook of the Mahayana, the Bodhisattva path, and it's rare, rare, rare in the world. Okay, we're going to go right here. I'll give you a line. We're going to go to the Pusa. Ready? 谓欲得一切菩萨法藏，无尽智慧大光明故，谓欲得一切菩萨，三昧广大藏故，谓欲成就一切菩萨， 无量无数神通藏故，为欲以大悲藏，教化调伏一切众生，皆令究竟道边际故。Okay, short one. 为欲显现神变藏故。Two more. 为欲一切自在藏中，悉意自心，得自在故。为欲入于清净藏中，以一切相而庄严故。Lots of zangs here. Okay. Shall we read it together starting here? Here we go. For the sake of attaining the infinite light of wisdom of the Dharma treasury of bodhisattvas, for the sake of attaining the vast treasury of samadhi of bodhisattvas, for the sake of mastering the limitless and countless spiritual powers of bodhisattvas, for the sake of teaching all beings with the treasury of great compassion, so they arrive at the ultimate point, for the sake of making the treasury of spiritual transformations appear, for the sake of using the mind to attain sovereignty within the treasury of all sovereignties, yes, for the sake of entering the treasury of purity and making every hallmark an adornment. Wowee, these are technical terms. This is Buddhist code language for the Bodhisattva path. I think Bhikshu Heng Shou did a lot of these differently. Let's see here. Let's look at attaining the infinite light of wisdom of the Dharma treasury of bodhisattvas. A lot of ideas here. Because I wish to acquire the inexhaustible light of great wisdom of the Dharma treasury of all bodhisattvas. Next one, second one down here. Because I wish to acquire the vast treasury of all bodhisattvas' samadhis. Because I wish to perfect all bodhisattvas' measureless and incalculable treasury of spiritual superknowledges. Okay, pretty much the same. Listen to this one. Because I wish to enter the treasury of purity and use all the marks as adornments. I would probably have to confess that that doesn't make sense. Right? I want to enter the treasury of purity and make every hallmark an adornment. You go outside on Shattuck Avenue and ask 100 people what that means, and you're going to get 100 different answers. So why? Now, does it not make sense? The translation doesn't make sense. The Dharma, Sudana himself absolutely knows what he wants, and that's why it's the last one. That's super important. Let's translate it, retranslate it, see if we can make sense of it. Because I want to 入于清净藏中. So 入 here is the verb. It means to enter, mostly. But it also means to do things like merge with. You lose your boundaries and become one with. It's you who are not so defined by your skin and by your thoughts, so you can change shape and merge with pure treasury inside, within. A treasury of purity. Okay, if a treasury is not a closet, it's not a box with a padlock, it's not the treasury up on Market Street where you go to stash your gold. It's not that. It means the thing that he wants is not a thing, it's purity. So what's a treasury of purity? It means abundant. What goes in a treasury is a lot of stuff that's valuable. You lock it up in there because you don't want to lose it. It's valuable. And it's a quantity, it's a lot of stuff. Because I want to merge with purity. Purity here doesn't, and it's really important to translate this, because when I was growing up, probably if there was 100 things, purity was the last thing I wanted to be. I wanted to be James Bond. I wanted to be Harvey Keene, the right fielder of the Detroit Tigers. I wanted to be John Wayne, tougher than my saddle, you know. What do you want me to do? Draw you a picture? Says John Wayne. That was the model of manhood that I met growing up in the 50s and 60s in Middle America. So men were defined by kiss, kiss, bang, bang, you know. It was violence and no rules. So for me, thinking purity, absolutely not. For a bodhisattva, purity here does not mean ivory soap, that you're clean, as opposed to dirty. It's not that. It's purity here means he has disappeared into the Tao. I got a story for you. We were bowing in Santa Barbara on 101, where 101 and 1 are the same. And because it was fast freeway, the CHP asked us, please bow on the access road, not on the highway. So we did. We would have been hazards to navigation if we were down on the freeway. So we came up to the accessory road, bowed along, and there was a guy who was there in the morning, and he was there in the afternoon, and then he was there at the end of the day. And you kind of saw him. He would be leaning on a tree or on a phone pole, and he had a Hamburg hat with the rounded crest, the rounded, crown, and he was leaning like this, and he was kind of watching us, but kind of not. He was very cool. I'd see him and stand up from bow and see this guy, and there is guy here. And then he wasn't there, and then like 2 hours later, there's that guy again, So at the end of the day, we'd seen him like 3 times, morning, noon, and night. At the end of the day, he came along and said, his face was totally impassive. It was showing no emotion. The point of that from a guy was to say, business, something important to share with you. And he said, I'm sorry to have distracted you at all if I did that today. He says, I am here from the Rosebud Sioux tribe. Our medicine man told me to come and watch you. He said, I could learn something from you by watching. And he was right. He said, what I see is you guys are pure, and so you slip right through, he said. And he said, and I've got this ear of blue corn that my teacher, the medicine man, wants me to give to you on behalf of the Rosebud Sioux tribe. And it's like, he didn't want to waste a word, but he said, my teacher says, you guys are neat. He said, when you're neat, you slip right through. So neat and pure is that way. It's called no hooks. And if you have hooks, here's a hook. You're bowing and you go, or, right? One look to check things out. Oh, look at that. Wow, there goes a Maybach. I didn't know there were any in California. Oh, oh, that's the third Jaguar I've seen. A lot of Teslas out here, most of them with bumper stickers. I bought it before Elon went nuts, right? So that's a hook. All your chi is gone. And he said, you guys are neat. You slip right through. Because by Santa Barbara, we had learned, we'd been bowing at that point for about 5 months. And as soon as if we kept our mind on the bowing, nobody saw us. As soon as we looked, suddenly we were visible. People started honking, started shouting. We could cause an accident. And it was really true that the only way to do it safely for ourselves and for the havoc that we could cause while people are driving by at 70 miles an hour is to focus and be neat. So I think that's what it means to enter into a treasury of purity. It just means that you tame your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and most important, your mind. So you're not going out to hook things. I'm interested in seeing where's the action, how can I score, Okay, now this one. 以一切相而庄严故. Making every hallmark an adornment. Hello. Use all the marks as adornments. No comprende, señor. 听不懂. So what does it mean to make every hallmark an adornment? So the bodhisattvas, cultivators, on the way to Buddhahood, have a physical response to the good that they do. It's called the Sanshi Arxiang, the 32 hallmarks, and the 80 随行好, the 80 subtle characteristics. And if you look at a Buddha, you can't, we have Amitabha back here behind the screen. There, right behind. Oh, John is here. John, turn around. That's your poster. John Fo has made a contribution to this Buddha Hall. He found a postcard size in Vietnam of the Buddha under the Bodhi tree and the painter who painted it. And he, correct me if I get it wrong, John took it to a printer in Saigon or somewhere, and they blew it up. Is that right? That's basically what happened, right? Yeah, and they blew it up, and it's a beautiful painting of the Buddha beneath the Bodhi tree. Whenever I look at that, I think of John. So there's John sitting under it. Good job, John. So if you look at the Buddha, he's got these long ears. He's got this wisdom bump on top. He's got a white curl between his eyebrows. His skin is golden, etc. These are called the 32 hallmarks. And actually, his physical body, people look at the Buddha and not everybody sees these 32 hallmarks. They include such things as long arms and a web between his fingers and toes and a wheel, a circle on the soles of his feet. Unusual qualities. It's said to be the Da Jiang Fu, Sanshi Arxiang, Da Jiang Fu Xiang. The 32 hallmarks of a Mahapurusha, a Da Jiang Fu, a superhero, probably as close as we get to Marvel superheroes in terms of being unusual and ornamented. These are, every Buddha has them, and some devas do too. If you are one of the 4 kings of heaven and the first heaven above our human realm, those devas have a certain number of hallmarks, not all of them. The Zhuanlun Shengwang, wheel-turning Chakravartins. So this is interesting that these qualities show up. Anybody who has ever bowed the 10,000 Buddhas' repentance, congratulations, if you did the whole thing, because the way that particular 21-day ceremony is divided up in a sutra called the Fo Shuo Fo Ming Jing, Buddha's teaching on the names of Buddhas. And you bow to 10,000 Buddhas and Pratyeka Buddhas. And every 100, it stops and it says, you have now earned a single hallmark with these 100 bows. And if you bow the whole thing, you have planted the seeds and created the conditions for you yourself being adorned in the future with the 32 hallmarks. So it's very powerful sutra and repentance. So our Bodhisattva, Sudana is here talking to his teacher, Elder Liberation, and he says, this is why I made the Bodhi resolve, because I want to get wisdom light. I want to get samadhi, the Bodhisattva's samadhis, a vast treasury, meaning a lot of samadhis. I want to master shantong. I want to know what's going on in the heavens and see it with my own eyes. I want to hear what's going on in the hells, among the animals, among the ghosts, among the people, in the Deva's realm, with my own ears. I want to know what people are thinking. I want to have tashintong, telepathy. I want to have knowledge of past lives. I want to be able to travel through space, to enter the earth, to walk on water. Shanzu tong, that's number 5. And I want to have the one that the Buddha alone has, which is the ending of all outflows. These are Bodhisattva's psychic powers, which are slightly different. They don't have that last one, but that's what he wants. Then he can teach. I want great compassion for teaching beings, to take them to Buddhahood. I want spiritual transformations, can make things appear as necessary to help teach people. And I want to get zizai. I want to be free, at ease, have sovereign mastery. And then I want to be invisible as needed, and yet when my body shows up, it looks like a Buddha's, because it is a Buddha's. Now, I wrote these things down, not that, because I thought these are, here we go. If you had to say, what's the definition of the Bodhisattva path? I want to look like a Bodhisattva. I want Bodhisattva's good roots. I want the paramitas, the practices, the vows, the spirituality. I want the light of wisdom, samadhi, psychic powers, great compassion, spiritual transformations, zizai, sovereignty, self-mastery, purity, and the hallmarks. You couldn't do better than that list of Bodhisattva practices. There it is. And man, it's rare. You don't find it outside of the Avatamsaka. And there are people who will tell you, this is just a dream, you're dreaming. This is the Dharma ending age. We don't cultivate now. You're behind the times. People will tell you things like that, which is sad, because this is inspiring. This is the best thing that people can do with their lives. And here it is. So, Brian put together this. When I was young, my mama said to me, son, when you grow up, what do you want to be? She said, choose carefully, remember what I taught you. I said, when I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. When I grow up, you can sing along if you want, I want to be a bodhisattva. When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. Living beings can evolve. I'm gonna make the Bodhi resolve. When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. Some folks want a one-way ticket to nirvana, to live in joy and peace, but I don't wanna. There's only one job meant for me, to follow the path of Bodhi. When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. Here's the chorus, you can do this one. When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. I want to rescue living beings, just to share the joy that it brings. When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. When you grow up, you can be a bodhisattva. When you grow up, you can be a bodhisattva. If you want to make something of yourself, all you gotta do is cultivate no self. When you grow up, you can be a bodhisattva. Okay, here's the last chance. Here we go. When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. While living beings can evolve, I'm gonna make the Bodhi resolve. When I grow up, I want to be a bodhisattva. Brian Conroy. And he means it. He doesn't just say that, he means it. All right, let's see. At this point, it would be appropriate. Let's see here. I promised stories. I got to tell you this story. Then we'll get to the questions. Questions. Okay, here it is. This is Marty's writing. Christmas Eve. We're camped under a lone cypress tree on a high cliff above the Pacific Ocean. Christmas Eve stillness under twinkling stars and a cold, clear evening sky. Pescadero Point. People know Pescadero. 2 cars full of drunken men pull up as we sit in meditation after reading the Sutra. They whoop it up. They urinate on the ground. They toss empty bottles against the rocks. Then they spot our car. "Hey, that's the Krishnas over there, right over there," says one in a menacing tone. "Yeah, who would think on Christmas Eve they're out here all alone? We'd run into them," says another, hinting at the ripe opportunity to have a little fun as he eggs on his buddies. They stagger over, bold and aggressive. A hand slams against the window. We don't respond. Again, they knock, and one of them says, "I got something for you," and he sticks his hand right in through the open door window. "What is it?" I ask. "The way, the truth, and the light," he says, on the verge of anger, and he shoves a Bible into my hands. "God bless you and Merry Christmas," he sneers. Oh, that night I had this dream. Marty's writing about his dream. A group of aggressive men try to teach Heng Sure and myself the way, the truth, and the light by taking us to a banquet table full of food. But instead of eating the food, they insist that rubbing on one's hands is the way and the secret to spiritual power. We watch in disbelief as they smear themselves with food, and go hungry. Let's see. They insist that rubbing food on one's hands. There we go. That's it. They smear themselves with food, but they don't eat it. The banquet feast is located in a dense, dark, out-of-the-way forest. The dream ends. I woke up and immediately made a connection between the dream and what the Buddhist tradition calls externalists, or outside ways, Waidao. It's wrongly interpreted as other religions, but really means seeking spiritual insight and liberation outside of your own being. outside of your own being, one's own mind, and nature. Originally, it means those individuals who were outside the hearing range or circle of the Buddhist teachings at the time, and then all the teachings were directly oral, face-to-face. Really, it means any seeking outside of my own nature for the way. That's Wai Dao. Bu Cong Wai Ru. This is why the sixth patriarch, Hui Neng, was constantly telling his students, do not seek outside yourselves, and to realize the knowledge and vision of the Buddha is your own mind. Search out Bodhi only in the mind. Why waste effort seeking outside in the occult, says the sixth patriarch. A few weeks ago in Big Sur, a white-robed, barefoot group of ascetics approached us. Big Sur is full of strange people. They wanted to check us out as they thought we were just like them. Well done, brothers, worshiping the earth. The earth is God. Worship only the earth. They thought that bowing down, forehead touching the ground, was paying homage to the earth as God, not what we were really doing, cleansing the heart, returning a light to shine within. I didn't try to explain, I just kept bowing. So Wai Dao is more a state of mind than it is actually any strange side door group. Just as the strength of food is gained by eating the food, in the same way the light of wisdom is turned on by eating the teachings or embodying the Dharma, actually practicing and changing, not simply mouthing the words. Good and wise friends, people chant prajna all day long without realizing the prajna of their own essential nature. Just as talking about food will not satisfy hunger, so too only talking about emptiness, even for myriad eons, will give you no insight into your own nature. Ultimately, it's of no benefit. Having the book but not actually cultivating the meanings is just like starving to death while surrounded by good food. As one who prepares succulent foods and is himself starving to death, yet does not eat, if one doesn't cultivate the Dharma, mere learning is just like this. Okay, I remember traveling with the master in Asia. Our delegation ferried to Bukit Murtajam, a small village about an hour from Penang. The audience was folks, simple, rustic, used to hard work. Many labor at local rubber plantations where they rise before dawn to collect the rubber sap. Life is hard, yet they traveled over rough, unpaved roads 2 to 3 hours to hear the abbot speak. The abbot's words are simple and straightforward like the people. They listen with delight. They recognize true talk. At one point, the master says, "It's a pity we're immersed every second in the Buddha Dharma and yet fail to recognize it. We go outside seeking for the Dharma. The definition of a Wai Dao, external way, is any seeking outside your own mind. If you understand your own mind and see your own nature, that is real Buddha Dharma. Don't seek it high and far away. Every thought, every deed is an enactment of the Buddha Dharma." Okay, and now this is what I particularly wanted people to hear. A little girl and her father walking alone along the highway. We're parked in our 1957 Plymouth station wagon, out of sight, but we can see the road. Here come a father. It's Christmas Eve. Here's a father and his little daughter. She's holding his hand like this. She's wearing a party dress. She's wearing her best dress. She must be about 7 or 8. She is visibly upset and distraught. Their car ran out of gas. It's Christmas Eve, and not one gas station is open on this desolate stretch of road on the holiday above Pescadero. The little girl is all dressed up in her best clothes, a bright new ribbon in her hair, but her hopes of spending Christmas with her family are all but shattered. They've been walking the road for hours, hand in hand, her father carrying an empty gas can. Now it's almost dark. We are the only sign of life they have met for miles. The little girl's face lights up in expectation as her father politely asks us if we have any spare fuel. Fortunately, we do have a spare can that someone gave us for emergencies. I dig into our wagon behind a seat, find it, and give it to them. "Oh, I knew they would. I just knew they would," shouts the girl, dancing up and down and twirling around with delight. "Now we can make it home for Christmas, can't we, Daddy?" The father nods, tearing up a bit. "You're a real lifesaver," he confides. "You have no idea what this means to us. Bless you." another light is released called delightful. This light can awaken living beings, making them happy with the Buddha, happy with the Dharma, and happy with the Sangha too. I remember the master once chimed in during one of his lectures, from ancient times the sages had no other method but to be happy all the time and never get vexed. A man named Mark stops by. Well, I heard about your quest, so Merry Christmas and keep on praying, he says with a nod of appreciation. He made an offering, shook hands, and drove away. Now, all quiet again, under the solitary cypress tree above the ocean cliff. The full moon is slowly rising, Dharma stillness everywhere. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Alrighty. So, from Anhui, 我觉得我爹我爸事很多，我给他10个西瓜，他总小，他说小，我又买了个大的，他说皮大厚，我觉得他事太多了，我是不是也是个事多的人才感召这样的父亲呢？我一点都不喜欢这样的爸爸的。I feel like my dad's really fussy. I bought him a watermelon. He said it was too small. I bought him a bigger one. He said the rind was too thick. He's too picky. Does this mean I'm also a picky person, which is why I ended up with a father like this? I really don't like this kind of dad at all. Okay, to find cause and effect there is not the way to go. The way to go is to appreciate that this is the only father you have, and it's the only father you will ever have. And if you can recognize that being picky is irritating, then he becomes your shan zhi shi. He becomes your jie shi, your good and wise advisor from the reverse. That is to say, you can learn what you don't like about him. You know, Confucius said, 三人行，必有我师焉. When there are 3 people walking together, one of them is for sure my teacher, said Confucius. So learn from him what you don't want to imitate and appreciate all his good qualities. You know how you're lucky? You got a father. And that's you're long ahead in the game to have a dad. There's so many young men who have no father at all. And if your dad notices, if he sees that you really appreciate him, he might start appreciating you. So you're saying, is his stinginess going to force you to be stingy? How about if your generosity makes him generous? Turn it around. "我听到了，你跟他们说好。" Okay. Yeah, 你替我问好，好不好? Okay, whoever's talking on the phone there. All right. 丁理师法师在观世音菩萨普门品中说：善男子若有无量百千万亿众生受诸苦恼，万事观世音菩萨一心称名，观世音菩萨即是观其音声，皆得解脱。是的，有这么一回事。OK， 问题：经文中为何说观其音声，而不是听其音声？第二，佛无形无相，遍满虚空，那么观是如何进行的？ Okay, in the Universal Door chapter of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara in the Lotus Sutra, it says, good man, if there are countless hundreds of thousands and millions of living beings who are suffering and afflicted, they hear of this Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara and single-mindedly recite his name. Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara will immediately contemplate their sound and they will be liberated. Question: why does Guan Yin contemplate rather than hear it? The Buddha is formless, without characteristics, pervading empty space. How is the contemplation carried out? Are you studying to be a lawyer? Seems like you're kind of picky here. about the sutras. You don't like the way bodhisattvas contemplate, maybe. So my question for you would be, do you know how Guanyin Bodhisattva perceives, let's use the word perceives, living beings' troubles? I don't either. I hope your answer is no, you don't. Because if you say you do, I don't think we have much to share. But I don't know how Guanyin Bodhisattva is able to pick up all the different sounds of living beings. Guan would seem to be that she's looking, because it's got the character there's got a view, a seeing in their Jian, right? But then again, maybe Guanyin Bodhisattva is looking with her mind. I really don't know, but I know it works. It works. And that's the important thing, is that when you say, Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa, Guanyin picks up the phone and gets your request. Whether she is Guan or Jian or Wen or Ting, honestly, I don't care. And you shouldn't either. But it works. It works. That's what really is the important thing. And if you ask picky questions like this, you can discourage people from even trying to recite, right, when you need it. So it's a curiosity, yeah, 我也好奇, but ultimately a question like this doesn't get you any closer to faith in Guanyin. Now, the Buddha is formless without characteristics pervading all empty space. Sutras say that, but I don't think you really see that. So for you and for me, it's an idea. How is the contemplation carried out? I have no idea. When you become a Buddha, please come back and tell me, all right? Because for sure it works. Okay, let's see here. 我现在已经辞职了，不上班，有了整天修行的时间，但却不知道该怎么安排。心里想做的事情很多，比如背经听网上的讲经诵楞严咒、大悲咒、念佛等等，但因为太多了，反而不知道该先做哪一项。另外，我也想学一点英语，但不知道如何分配时间整天修行。如果不出门走走，我不看看手机，就觉得有点怪怪的。请问这不是因为我还不习惯整天都在修行，才会有这种感觉吗？ Okay, I recently quit my job. I have a whole day free for cultivation. However, I don't know how to make good use of my time. There are many things I want to do: recite sutras, listen to Dharma talks, recite the mantra, a couple mantras, recite the Buddha's name. These are all practices I would like to engage in. Since there's so many, I don't know where to begin. I also want to learn some English. I don't know how to manage my time well. When I spend the whole day cultivating without going out or checking my phone, I feel strange. Is it because I'm not yet used to spending the whole day in cultivation that I feel this way? Okay, so good questions. And the answer, and I don't want to sound like glib by answering this way, but pick one or two that you like and start there. What you're describing, in they say, 汪洋星叹, right? You look at the ocean and it's so vast, you don't know, how could you ever get across it? There's so much Buddha Dharma, how could you ever cultivate it, right? Well, start somewhere. And one way to do it might be, as you describe it, you're all alone there. I don't know if you are. Can you find a group? Can you find a friend? I know, for example, there's right here in Ukiah, we're in Berkeley today, but in Ukiah, there's a group of lay people who every Tuesday night they recite the Buddha's name together. And when called upon, they go out to recite at the bedside of people who are passed away. Or passing away. So that kind of thing is probably not far from you. Suzhou, okay, for sure. Suzhou is a Buddhist place. There will be Buddhists there who are meditating, who are reciting the Buddha's name, who get together to maybe copy sutras by hand. find friends. When you're alone, it's really hard to get any momentum. You do it a little bit and then you kind of peter off, right? Especially because you're representing that the number of dharmas that are available seems to overwhelm you. I hear that a lot, right? 八万四千法门，哪一个对我最好? We say, right? 84,000 dharma doors, which one is best for me? That's a question I hear a lot. I even asked that same question to my teacher. His answer was, 要念佛是无量光, he said. That was it. I said, Shifu, what's the best method? He said, recite the Buddha's name. It's limitless light, he said. I personally preferred the Great Compassion Mantra. I have affinities with Guanyin. I focus on the Avatamsaka Sutra. So I do two things a lot. I recite the mantra, I investigate the sutra, translate it. I also meditate. So I'm doing three things particularly, regularly. And I know my companion, Marty Heng Chao, he meditates. And he uses one method, and that's what he does. He also does Tai Chi and such, and translates. But his number one practice is meditating on a method that he got from his teacher. So everybody's a little different. They say, Yi Man Shan Ru. You want to go deeply into a single practice. But when I asked Shifu about that, he said, not everybody wants to eat only rice. Sometimes you want to eat noodles. Sometimes you want to eat bread or crackers, or xiaomi zhou. So you don't want to get too narrow. So you have a lot of time, that's good. And you look at it positively, that's good. Pick one or two and start. Find friends. Okay, as for English, again, you have to decide. If you don't start, 你永远就讲不出来任何英语，要开始，在哪里下手呢? Find a good method. Give yourself, for language learning, what counts is regularly. So if you do it all in the weekend and don't do it Monday to Friday, you'll never learn it. Do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. Over time, in 6 months, imagine how much you'll know. Okay? Give yourself a chance. If you don't start, you'll have no chance. Okay? So you're lucky to have spare time. Dig in. Let's see here. Venerable Master. I'm not a Venerable Master. I'm just a Dharma Master. So, may I ask, is picking up money or valuables considered stealing? 法师请问捡钱及贵重物品是偷盗吗? And the answer is, depends. Depends. If you know it belongs to somebody, yep. If you don't know where it came from, and you really, really want to keep your precepts clear and pure, pick it up, give it away. Why does it have to go into your pocket? You can, money, you can always, what people say is, well, if I didn't pick it up, somebody else would, That's a real good excuse for kind of fudging, for kind of cheating. And if you have a suspicion that somebody lost it. One thing you could do, especially, you don't mention, is the money in a wallet? Or is it just like 100 块, You're looking at Mao Zedong's red face there on the ground, right? So, if so, then it's hard to know who owned that bill. However, I know there are wonderful, wonderful stories that I have heard personally about people who said, oh my goodness, I was in Berlin and I had my wallet, and in the wallet was my passport, with my money, were my tickets, and I left it on a bench. And it took me an hour later, I realized I'd left it on the bench, and I ran back and it wasn't there, but there was a police station right next door. So I ran to the police station and I said, I lost my wallet. And they said, and what is your name? And I gave them my name. They reached under the counter and said, here's your wallet. Somebody turned it in an hour ago. and handed it back to them. Because an honest person found it and turned it in. And don't you know, the heart of the person who found all their travel documents and their passport in their hands, how did they feel? So if you can do that, if you can pass it on when you could just put it in your pocket and have doubts about your precepts, do the extra hard thing and pass it on, you not only will keep your precepts, but you'll have a very happy heart. 助人是快乐之本, right? Helping others is where happiness begins. Okay, by golly, thank you for those questions. And I do hope the guy with more time on his hands picks something to do, some way to cultivate. That's a good opportunity. Maybe you don't know what kind of doors will open up once you decide on how you want to cultivate, and then set out and do it. Next week, no live Sutra. Sutra will be online next week. I will be in the mountains of coastal Oregon, and the following Saturday, I will be in a Chan retreat, also at Buddha Root Farm. So this year is 10 days instead of the usual 7. So you won't see my face for 2 lectures, but we will have a Sutra lecture as always. The Dharma wheel will turn. Hope you'll all tune in. And I guess that's, except for our dedication of merit, that's what we got. Let's make a wish, send out goodness to the world. I'm going to save, before this goes away, I want to save it. There we go. Save chat. There we go. All right. As one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Now, right from where you're sitting, let's bow to the Buddha. Do a half bow from where you are. If you're at home in a chair, you can do a half bow. We've got Guanyin Bodhisattva from City of 10,000 Buddhas here. Here we are. Yes, she is contemplating. Yes, she is seeing. Okay, here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. That's going to do it for us for tonight. See you next 2 weeks. Amitofo.